I am going to talk about the project approach, which is the idea that teachers and students partner together to come up with a project topic, and that is the focus for several weeks, and teachers tailor their instruction as much as possible around this topic. So let's say the topic is like the library and books, and like everything that they learn or the majority of stuff that they learn can be connected to books. So they can be counting things like books, counting pages in books. It obviously ties to literacy because they're learning about books. Social and emotional, they can be learning how like librarians work and how to take care of books. It can continue to go on and relate to the majority of the standards. And it is mainly student driven, so what the students would like to learn and their questions that they have about the topic is what the teacher tries to teach. There were two websites that I looked at, projectapproach.org. One of the things that I thought was really interesting about this one was it talks about how this learning is done through real-world experiences, allowing students to make the connection of the things that they are learning to how they can use it later on in their life and how it relates to their life right now. They talked about how a lot of the time teachers and students find school separate than like the rest of their life, and the project approach and field trips and other experiences outside of the school or experiences that connect to the world outside of the school blend this together so that it isn't seen as two separate entities anymore, and school and everything else in the person's life can all go together. The other website that I looked at was a survey completed by the University of Illinois, and it talked about how teachers usually choose a topic that coincides with their social studies or science standards, and they obviously are able to incorporate these standards, so either social studies or science is like the main topic, but then they incorporate all their other topics. So one that I looked at was the dog study, and it was able to tie in the comprehending language because students obviously have to comprehend what other students are saying and what the teacher is saying to be able to learn new things about the topic and come up with their questions for the topic. Students also had to use appropriate conversational skills, which is another language standard, to know when to talk and when to listen when having a discussion with their classmates. Students had to use their inquiry skills to come up with questions and answer them based on their knowledge, and that is a science standard. And dogs are living things, so students were able to be meeting the standard of learning characteristics of different living things, especially if you continue to look at and create projects based on other living things. Students used toy dog manipulatives to practice the one-to-one concept in counting, which is something that they need to do to complete the math standards, and they also were able to compare like the weight and the height of different dogs that were both like alive and dog toys, which is another math standard because you're measuring and you're also comparing different things. There are several examples. So the one that I chose was the dog project, which I just talked about. One website that I think that a project topic that I think that my student would really be interested in is like community workers, and I chose this one because my student is really interested in like police right now. She desperately wanted police to come to the school, and she wanted police at her birthday party. And when we did my design challenge project with they built boxes, she built a police car, and so they, rather than doing a complete study on police, because I thought that was going to be a little bit harder, I thought that we would do one on community workers. And so here is my web, and it shows that you can have community workers, so like a teacher, a bus driver, a doctor, a weatherman, firefighters, librarian, and then of course police, which is the one that she would most enjoy, but I think that it would help to have others in the group. There were several key components to the project approach. One of the biggest one is that there are 3 stages. So you start by having the children pick a topic, and so you would look at what the students are most interested in. So in their daily instruction, what are they gravitating towards? What types of questions are they asking during free choice? Things like that. And then you would create a web similar to this one, and you use the web to plan out the topics. So with them, you may put the main topic in a circle in the center and then have other topics around it, and you would branch off and continue to branch off and then learn what type of things they're looking for. And you can also have them come up with questions that they want answered. Then you would go in and actually do your investigation, and so that would be when you're learning and trying to answer those questions, and you can call in experts and bring things in and go to the experts and everything like that. And then the third stage and the final stage is when children share their findings. So this is when they are showing you everything that they learned. So they may choose to create a video, to do a poster board. Like, there are tons and tons of options that they can use to create this. Another quality, which is also a great pro to the project approach, is that it is honing into their investigative qualities, and children are natural born investigators, and the project approach allows us to build on this quality that they already have. And this is a good thing because there are so many schools that push this away because they just want the students to learn to the standards so that they can pass their tests. But if we continue to have them investigate, then they will become lifelong learners later on. Another positive of this is the fact that you are looking at exactly what the students want to learn, and so you are making sure that they are engaged in what they are learning in. And you are also able to integrate all of the standards in one topic, and if you can't integrate a standard into the topic, it can be easy to branch out just a little bit, or of course you can have that break from this specific project approach. One con that I can think of is that it can be somewhat difficult to find a topic that all of your students are going to be interested in. And so you want to make sure that they are prepared and that everyone is at least okay with it. You don't want to have a student that is really against whatever you're studying. So I know that we had a student when in my classroom that absolutely did not like when we were learning about transportation. And so my teacher wouldn't want to extend that study because he just was not engaged and he was constantly upset when that was what we were talking about. Obviously, we didn't completely change it, but she didn't want to continue it. And another con is that at times it can be seen as something that can be hard to manage and plan for, but actually in that same survey by the University of Illinois, it was said that once teachers were in the project approach and using this type of curriculum for a long time, they actually found it to be easier than any curriculum that they used previously. So it can be harder at the beginning but get easier later on, and it can benefit the students a lot.